In this part, we'll review application of CNN in visual recognition. One use case of CNN is image classification. Image classification is the process of categorizing and labeling groups of pixels or vectors with an image based on a specific rules. The categorization law can be devised using one or more spectral or textural characteristics. Two general methods of classification exist: supervised model and unsupervised model. In this part, we will review some supervised models such as LeNet, AlexNet, InceptionNet, ResNet, or namely. This architecture relies on set of subsequence of convolutional layer which aim to learn and map the image to a probability score over a set of classes. We will learn more detail about this network in topic 7. There exists a different dataset and benchmark for image classification. One of them is Cipher-10. Cipher-10 is one of like a public benchmark dataset which we use broadly, and it contains 60,000 images with 10 class created by Jeffrey Hinton team in 2009. There is also a much more difficult version of these images with the 100 classes, so created with like a Jeffrey Hinton. As you can see, here is one example. Here is the class of the frog. The images are in a color images. Therefore, there like we have a 3 input channel, and the size of the images are in a size of 32 in 32. In order to classify the Cipher-10 images, we can use the very simple CNN architecture. Here is an example. First of all, we have the input channel, and afterwards we have the convolution followed by pooling layer. Here we use 3 convolutional layer and three pooling layer, followed by a fully connected layer, and at the end softmax for classification. Very simple network architecture. And here you can see the epochs versus the accuracy of two networks. The first network actually trained on a CNN, and another network is composed of the dense layer. In this example, both networks have a roughly the same number of layers, and also hyperparameter are quite similar. Like we consider similar learning rate, weight decay, and dropout. But as you can see here, the performance of the network composed of the CNN with a color of the green, and also red one for the training accuracy and validation respectively, the result is much better than dense layer, shown by like a blue color and orange here. Image classification is very important problem in computer vision because there are many visual recognition problems that are related to image classification, such as object detection or image captioning. Semantic segmentation is another also like a problem which is very related to image classification. Visual question answering, visual instruction navigation, sense graph generation, these are also problems which are really related to image classification. And we will review some of these in continue. Colorization is the process of adding plausible color information to monochrome photographs or video. Colorization is highly undetermined problem requiring mapping a real value luminance image to a three-dimensional color value one. That has not a unique solution. Here we review a solution by Zhang et al. From 2016. They propose a network architecture composed of the CNN, where they train a network on a pair of grayscale and colored images. Here they forced the network architecture to make a prediction on color value for each pixel in the grayscale input. and combine the grayscale input with the color output to yield the colorized image. As you can see here, they take like a luminance channel of the grayscale image, and then the output is a two-channel image, AB channel image, and at the end they concatenate luminance and also AB for plausible coloration. They can actually control the lightness and brightness of the pixel using L channel, and A and B are respective for the like a coloring of each pixel. Here they use the LAB color space for the image representation. For more detail, actually in this paper, the color space and A and B is quantized in total of 330 bins. This allows to treat this color prediction as a classification problem where each pixel is assigned to probability distribution over one of these 313 bins. And then we use the highest score of the softmax for the predicted color value. The bin is then mapped back to the corresponding rubric A and B, and here the network is optimized using multinomial cross entropy loss over these 313 bits. And in this figure, we can see the more detail of the network architecture. They use in total 8 convolution and also upsampling layer in order to create the same size of image as an input. And as you can see here at the last layer, the output is a tensor dimension of the 64 in 330 bin, where the 313 is the probability for each element of the final, where the downsample of the feature map is the size of the 64 in 64. Later on, this block actually is upsampled to a dimension of 224 in 224 in order to predict the color bin. And we use again, as we mentioned earlier, A and B, like two channel output for the A and B. And at the end, we concatenate this A and B color with the luminance, and then we can have the like a color for images. Another use case of CNN is for object localization. Until now, we use CNN for classifying images. Indeed, we answer which object is on the image. Now, we would like to extend this framework, and we would like to know where is the location of the object. Object localization indeed refers to identifying the location of one or more objects in an image and drawing bounding box around their extent. Object detection combines these two tasks and localizes and classifies one or more objects in an image. Bounding boxes can be defined by the location of the left lower corner as well as height and width, where we call it B of the X, Y having a 1 point and then like a height and width of this. We can recognize where is the location of object. Indeed, we combine these three tasks of the detection, classification, and localization, where here in this context, detection and classification is similar, but okay, with a different name. In order to solve the classification task, we have a label vector for three class. Now imagine we would like to solve this problem for three class of cat, car, or frog. Therefore, we have a label vector for each class, and also therefore our softmax output can be like a probability of y equal cat given x for the like a learnable parameter of theta. Similarly for car and frog. And in order to solve problem of localization, we need additional information, such as where is the bounding boxes. And as we mentioned earlier, for solving a bounding box, we need x and y coordinate box, and also height and width of the box. Where here we have like 4 additional parameters. And more importantly, we would like to know what is the inside of the box. Therefore, we need to have the like three class of the cat, core, and frog. And we have like one hot for each class here. and 0 for present of object or binary. Okay, then let's put everything together. We take our network composed of the convolutional and pooling layer takes input images and then create a good feature map at the end by final convolution. Many approaches solve this problem by having a two head at the end after like final convolutional layer, one for the classification, another one for regression. Where again each head has like a fully connected layer and each head is responsible to solve a problem by like having an individual loss function. We have a here loss function for the bounding box regression and the loss function for classification. There exist in the literature different approaches to solve this problem. Like roughly, we can divide them into like a region-based method and single-shot method. CNN, which in region-based, we can name RCNN, faster RCNN, or fast RCNN. And in a single shot, we can name YOLO and SSD as an example. Another interesting application of CNN is for image semantic segmentation. Image segmentation is a method in which a digital image is broken down into various subregions called image segment, which helps in reducing the complexity of image to make further processing or analysis of image simpler. The goal of image segmentation is to label each pixel of an image with a corresponding class of what is being represented. One famous and very popular network architecture for semantic segmentation is UNet, which proposed by Ronenberg et al. In 2015. UNet was originally invented and first of all applied for the biomedical image segmentation. As shown in this figure, the architecture composed of two parts, encoder followed by a decoder network. The encoder is the first half of in the architecture diagram, and it is usually is a pre-trained classification network like VGG ResNet, followed by a max pooling and downsampling to encode the important information and a very deep feature representation with the different multiple layers. While the decoder is half of the architecture, second half of the architecture, and the goal is to semantically project the discriminator feature learned by encoder onto a pixel space in a higher resolution. Indeed, we would like to map the lower resolution to higher resolution to get the dense classification. The decoder part consists of upsampling and concatenation followed by a regular convolutional operation. Image captioning is a process of generating a textual information for given images. It has been very important and fundamental task in deep learning, computer vision, and also natural language processing. Image captioning has a huge amount of application. One example is like NVIDIA is using image captioning technologies to create an application to help people who have low or no eyesight. Several approaches have been made to solve this task. In this picture, you can see an example done by Biswas et al. In recently in last year in 2020. First of all, in this problem, we need to solve the multimodal task because we have the images and we need to compute output as a sentence. In this example, we can see the image passes into two paths, path of the CNN and also path of the mask RCNN for the object detection. From the first pass, we can get the high level abstraction of the images, and then we have a embedded of the feature. And from the second pass, low level representation of the local region we can have, and at the end with a neural captioning generation and also beam search, they can output the caption. For example, in this picture, as you can see here, the first task is like they detected the object in the image, and at the end, like in a neural caption generator, we can have like this sentence as an output, and a group of people riding on the top of an elephant. For example, in this case, we can see that here is our input, and the output for this is like this sentence: a group of people riding on the top of an elephant. Visual question answering systems attempt to correctly answer question in natural language regarding an input image. The broader idea of this problem is to design a system that can understand the content of image similar to how humans do and communicate effectively about that image in a natural language. And because visual question answering requires technique involving image recognition and natural language processing, one major direction in a research is on deep learning. And also, they use a lot convolutional neural network (CNN) for image recognition path, and also uh, they use also recurrent neural network or RNN for natural language processing and then combining the result to deliver the final answer, as you can see in this figure. You can see in this figure, we use the CNN with like a fully convolutional neural network and pooling layer network, and like in the second pass, we process the natural language processing and text with the RNN network. And for the first pass, we analyze images. For the second pass, for example, we analyze how many horses are in this image. And at the end, our answer is 2. There exist different benchmark and data set. VQA is a one data set which you can reach this data from visualqa.org and for like okay building a supervised model for solving this task.